Let me welcome you here in my YouTube channel, my Tech Toolbox. Good day. I'm glad that you find it here, and I hope that you're just fine as well. Today is a good day to have an opportunity to hear and learn how to undertake a project. I will share with you the basic knowledge and process on how to undertake it. You will also learn what would be your role and the competencies or skills that you will need to be able to properly implement a project. This learning video will show the basic principles of a project for you to better understand it. I have 4 main topics to share with you. These are the following. 1. What is a project? 2. Phases of implementing a project. 3. The different means to undertake a project. 4. The roles of project implementer.
ISO 21500 defined. A project is a unique set of processes consisting of coordinated and controlled activities with start and finish dates undertaken to achieve an objective. Achievement of the project objective requires deliverable conforming to specific requirements, including multiple constraints such as time, cost, and resources. An objective is what an owner, a client, funder, or an organization wanted to be realized. It can be something tangible such as a new building, a factory, or an event such as a company anniversary party, or a condition such as a cooled office environment. A project deliverable is the achievement of a project objective. It is the project output or result from the integration and conversion of resources such as material, labor, equipment, and information using predefined method or process. Undertaking a project have predefined or specific objective, which becomes the project specification. It will require a certain resources summed up into cost of money and a time duration, which could be in days, months, or years. The specification, the assigned cost, and the time to complete the deliverable are called the project parameters. It confines or limits the implementation of the project. This states that a project allocates only a certain amount to spend for the resources it procures. All the needed processes only have allotted time to complete to produce its specified output. Let me expound more on the definition by viewing a graphical presentation of the definition of a project. A project is a coordinated efforts and activities that have a beginning, which is a starting point of a project, and an ending, which is a completion point or closure of a project. It will take a time to begin and end a project. That time is called the project duration or timeline of a project. A project duration is derived from systematically summing up the individual durations of the many project activities. An objective is the goal of a project. It comes from a need for something to be realized. An example could be, a company expansion would need an additional new building, a newlywed couple would need a new house, and your company want to hold a Christmas party. Such will call for an implementation of a project to realize those need and want. An output of a project is the actual product, a service, an event, or a condition that is developed by the project implementer via predefined processes that is stated in the project objective. It is called a project deliverable. The coordinated effort and activities of a project are the activities or processes being created and undertaken in order to build, construct, or realize the project objective. It is a process that integrates and converts the project resources such as materials, equipment, information, labor works, and methods into a project deliverable. As defined, a project is a temporary endeavor, having a defined beginning and an ending, usually constrained by date, but can be by funding or deliverables. It is undertaken to meet unique goal and objective, usually to bring about beneficial change or added value. Let me show you the process flow of implementing a project. These are the different approaches of project implementation. The differences is due to the type, size, and complexity of a project. As mentioned earlier, project types can be infrastructure, activity-based, a system, as in a computer system. Project sizes can be from small and simple, such as a small residential building, to very large and complex, such as an oil refinery plant. Though different, there is one thing in common to them all: to achieve their respective project deliverable. A standard project typically has the following 4 major phases, each with its own agenda of tasks and issues. 1. initiation, 2. Planning, 3. Implementation, and 4. Closure. Taken together, these phases represent the path a project takes from the beginning to its end and are generally referred to as the project life cycle or phases of project implementation. For small and simple projects, this is followed. However, for medium, large, and complex projects, a monitoring and control phase is embedded in the typical process flow. It runs almost parallel with the implementation phase, but takes reference with the project plan. This phase determines deviation of project implementation from the project plans, recommends corrective action when necessary, and coordinates with all concerned to implement the needed actions. With reference to the phases implemented through an enhanced implementation process, brief description of the 5 different phases are as follows. 1. Initiating phase. The initiation phase is the first phase in the project. In this phase, a business problem or opportunity is identified and a business case which provides various solution options is defined. 2. Planning phase. The main purpose of the planning phase is to plan time, cost, and resources adequately to estimate the work needed and to effectively manage risk during project execution. 3. Implementing, executing phase. The implementation phase involves the execution of each activity and task listed in the project plan. While the activities and tasks are being executed, a series of management processes are undertaken to monitor and control the deliverables being output by the project. 4. Monitoring and control phase. This phase monitors and controls the progress and performance of working team and the project to identify any deviations from the plan or quality issues, so corrective actions can be effected accordingly. 5. Closure, completion, phase. This last phase is the completion phase, which is involved in releasing the final deliverables to the customer, handing over project documentation, terminating supplier contracts, releasing project resources, and communicating the closure of the project to all stakeholders. We have discussed earlier the definition, the elements, and the reasons for implementing a project. We also discussed the project life cycle or the phases project implementation and briefly described those 5 different phases. It is noticeable that the phases of project implementation is just briefly described and defined. Each phase of project implementation is composed of several processes, tools, and information that may neither be completed nor understood with a limited time. However, I feel the need to launch or post the detailed but separate learning videos of the 5 different phases of project implementation. This is to ensure that you will get a comprehensive knowledge and detailed information for you to be able to properly undertake your projects. The 5 learning videos as posted in YouTube are the following. 1. How to initiate and define a project. 2. How to plan a project. 3. How to execute a project. 4. How to monitor and control project execution. 5. How to completely close a project. Please subscribe to this channel so that you will be promptly notified when those videos are already available and posted on YouTube. The project triple constraint. Project implementers should always remember and impress upon everyone that a project also have limited resources. A project triple constraint set the limits or boundaries by which a project is to be implemented. It also serves as guide during project implementation. These are the project scope, the project time, and the project cost. These do not necessarily come in sequence. The project scope defines what work will be done as part of the project. What unique product, service, or result does the owner or sponsor expect from the project? It is defined or detailed via a project specification such as blueprints, sketches, drawings, videos, photographs, and other medias that would accurately describe the project. The project time or project duration states or sets how long, in days, months, or years, should it take to complete the project. It is called the project schedule. It serves as guide to how many days should the project execution team complete its activities output. This is presented on a bar chart, but almost always through a Gantt chart, and for complex projects through a CPM network diagram. The project cost sets the amount of money for the project to be completed. It is sometimes called the project budget. It sets the limit of the cost of the resources the project execution team spends in procuring and paying for the resources for each and every activities. The 3 constraints of project management. When the phase of project execution is being used to complete a project, there are certain constraints or limits that the team must deal with. This is something that is to be expected. The three constraints of project management are cost, time, and scope. Many people call this the project management triangle, and each side of the triangle symbolizes one of the constraints. It is impossible to change one part of this triangle without having an effect on the other sides. In this article, I will go over each of these constraints in detail. Understanding these constraints are critical for those who wish to be successful with the project implementation process. As the name suggests, the time constraint deals with the time necessary to finish a project. To successfully complete a project, the time constraint should be comprised of a schedule. You should have a specific schedule related to the time that it will take you to finish the project. However, before you can create a schedule, you must first sit down and figure out a projected time frame for the project. Once you have figured out the total time it will take for a project to be completed, you must next break this down into a schedule. There should be a time frame for completing specific parts of the project, and there should be a time frame that deals with the completion of components that make up these parts. The three constraints of project management will almost always be competing with each other. If a team decides to enlarge the scope of a project, the time will become larger as well, along with the cost. If the time constraint is tighter, the scope may be reduced, but the cost will remain high. If the team should decide to tighten the budget, the scope will become smaller, but the time will increase. To become skilled in project management, the project manager and their team must be capable of dealing with these constraints in a way that will allow them to successfully complete any project that they plan. Cost is another of the three constraints that you will want to become familiar with. The cost involved with successfully completing a project is dependent on a number of different elements, and some of these are material costs, the costs of labor, risk, and machines. The profit must also be analyzed when one is considering the cost constraint. If you are hiring a consultant who is independent, the cost of your project will be dependent on how much they charge per DM. This cost will generally be multiplied by a calculated quantity. The cost constraint is very important, and it should never be overlooked. The third constraint of project management is scope. Scope can be defined as the tools and resources that are needed to achieve the end objective of the team. The scope can also be defined as the goal of the overall project, what it is supposed to achieve. Perhaps one of the most important aspects of the scope is the quality of the end product or service that is produced. How much time the team puts into the project is directly connected to its quality. Some projects will require a longer period of time in order to be completed properly. Looking at the scope of the project is similar to looking at the big picture of what you are trying to accomplish. Understanding the scope, time, and cost constraints of project management is very important for those who wish to be successful with this process. If even one of these constraints are not properly used, the project will be a complete failure. For example, if you fail to complete the project within a specific time frame, you will not be successful, even if the project is high in quality, because you didn't finish it in the time frame specified by your client. Failing to project the proper cost of the project could cause you to either spend too much or too little on its completion, and you could end up with an inferior product or service. Failing to pay attention to the scope of your project can cause you to miss the objectives and goals entirely. Let me continue. As stated on the topics in this video, now I will share with you what are the different schemes or methods of implementing a project. There are three most popular schemes on undertaking a project. First is the DIY scheme. Second is the administration scheme. Third is the contracted scheme. The do-it-yourself or DIY scheme is implemented by the project owner or project owner himself, like doing all the planning, procuring the needed resources, executing the construction activities up to completion. DIY scheme is maybe implemented for project with very small components and which will require few days to implement. Construction of a house fence, for example, can be implemented via DIY scheme. An administered project implementation scheme is also undertaken or under the personal supervision by the project owner or sponsor by hiring the crafts or skilled workers and laborers to perform the construction works. Other needed resources for the project shall also be procured by the project owner. The contracted project execution comes in with two of the most popular schemes. First is the labor-only contracted project wherein a third party forges a contract with the project owner to provide the skilled personnel and labor workers to undertake the project execution. Other project resources will be procured by the project owner as well. Owners of mini to small-sized projects favors this type of implementation scheme. The second is the lump sum contracted project, wherein a third party or a general contractor will forge a contract with the project owner to fully execute the project execution. With this scheme, the contractor will provide all the necessary resources for the project. Owners of medium to very large and complex project normally tap this type of implementation scheme. These are the most popular schemes, though there are several other schemes tapped in project execution. In all of these schemes, the project owner shall himself or assign his own personnel to monitor or look into important project aspects such as the quality of the process output, safety of workers, compliance to government regulations, and all others. From the start of this learning video, I have discussed with you the following: the definition of a project, the phases of implementing a project, the different schemes of executing a project, the essence of project triple constraint, and the project management triangle. Our last topic is about the role of project undertaker or project implementer. I will be presenting two roles of a project undertaker: his role as a project manager and his role as a construction manager or execution manager. For a DIY and administered implementation schemes, a project owner would work as a project manager and a construction manager at the same time. However, in a contracted scheme, the project owner roles would only be to ensure that what a contractor produced or made and eventually turned over is in accordance with the approved plan, which is part of the contract requirements. A construction manager's role is to plan, coordinate, and oversee all aspects of a building project from its inception to completion, ensuring it adheres to budget, schedule, and quality standards. They act as a liaison between clients, architects, engineers, and subcontractors, managing the logistical and operational details of the project. A project manager's role is to lead and direct a project from initiation to completion, ensuring it's completed on time, within budget, and to the required quality standards. They are responsible for planning, executing, monitoring, and closing projects, effectively managing resources, communicating with stakeholders, and resolving issues to achieve project goals. Obviously, there are key differences between their scope of work, roles, responsibilities, liabilities, and most of all the competency requirements for each position. The purpose for comparison is to make you aware the differences between the two positions, for you to be ready for the challenges when a project manager or a construction manager of a big or large projects, or a project manager at the same time construction manager in a small or administered projects. I hope by now you can tell the differences and perform best where you are at when time comes. Good luck. In summary, undertaking your project is the practice of planning, organizing, and managing resources, like people, money, and time, to achieve specific goals within a defined time frame and budget. It involves all stages of a project, from initiation to closure, ensuring that the project's objectives are met and deliverables are completed successfully. Undertaking your project have many challenges. It encompasses a wide range of obstacles that can hinder the successful completion of a project. The discipline of organizing and managing resources, e.g., people, money, materials, and equipment, in such a way that the project meets the defined project scope, the time and cost constraints, the functional requirement and technical specifications, and the owner's expectations. Successful project implementation hinges on several key factors, including efficient planning, clear communication, effective resource management, strong leadership, and proactive risk management. Additionally, maintaining stakeholder engagement, adhering to budget and schedule, and managing changes effectively are crucial for project success. The most important thing is knowing what is the proper way of undertaking your project. To a successful project undertakings ahead of us. Thank you.
Before leaving, may I thank you for the time you invested here. Should you still have questions and clarifications to ask, write it in the comment below or email me at mytechtoolbox@gmail.com. If you have learned something that are useful, please give us a like. That's one way to support our channel. You may also want to share this video for your friends to learn. Subscribe now so you will be notified on every new learning videos we post on YouTube. Thank you and good luck.